This is a late 1950s Silvertone. It says Metropolitan under it. One of these metal portable TVs from the 1950s. Today we're going to see if we can get it to make a picture and see if we can watch some TV. First thing we're going to do is spin it around. So you've got your fine tuning, your channel selector, and your UHF. This is equipped with UHF, surprisingly. Your volume and power, brightness, contrast, and vertical hold. It's got a fixed metal handle on the top, pretty sturdy. Your power cord, and you got your antenna inputs. To take the back off, it's just these metal clips, and it just pulls right off. It's even got built-in antennas attached to the back here. Now looking inside of the TV, you've got our horizontal output tube, and not entirely sure what the other one is. We've got our IF and sound stuff over here. We've got more deflection circuits up here. There's the back of the CRT, the yoke. Looks like the power section is down here. These wires would attach to the antenna inputs on the back of the TV. Your high voltage can. Let's see if we can get that off. Inside the high voltage can, we just have our flyback here, the flyback wires, and the high voltage rectifier tube going to the anode of the CRT. Looking up in this corner, there are some replaced capacitors, so I think someone's been in here before. Now let's see if we can remove some of the bolts holding the chassis on, see if we can get that out. To get the chassis out, first thing we're going to want to do is remove the knobs here. And take note which one's which, because they do have what they are written on them. So it goes vertical hold, contrast, brightness, and then power. See some of the discoloring behind the knobs there. Someone didn't clean behind them. And we've got our fine tuning, channel selector, bit tricky to get off because there's not really a good place to hold it, but it is the type of plastic that gets that white coating on it. It's not too difficult to clean and make it look nice and new. Also appears to have some warping. And then we've got our UHF indicator here. Make sure to put the knobs in a safe spot so you don't lose them. Then looking back around here, we're going to want to lift the TV up because there's two screws on the bottom here holding the chassis on. I'm starting to think this might be a hot chassis set because there's rubber, there's plastic bushings keep the metal chassis from touching stuff, and there's thick phenolic board holding all the controls off and isolating them. So there's two screws at the top here holding the top of the chassis. Now it's starting to come loose. Also need to remove the power board here. Comes right off. It's a long cord holding it on. Just to make it easy, we're also going to remove the speaker here on the side. And there it goes. It's just a really small, like All-American 5 speaker. Seems like what all of these use. Now, pretty much the last step to getting the chassis out is you want to remove, being careful with the socket, the CRT, the yoke, and then maneuvering part of this out of here. Also want to get the anode lead on the back of the picture tube. Just like that, the entire chassis here is free from the rest of the television set. See if we can take a better look at it. Now this is the entire chassis for the TV, speaker, and where you plug in the cord with a circuit breaker. High voltage parts, your IF and your deflection are all in different parts. Different PCBs. On the back here, we've got some replacement. Got some replacement electrolytics around, replacement film capacitors. We've got a few black beauties in here. Could save those, sell them to the guitar people. We've got more parts of the PCB, more electrolytics that have been replaced. A lot of electrolytics, I don't see as many of the paper capacitors being replaced. And you get your tuner right here. And the two selenium rectifiers. Instead of using a rectifier tube. And you've got the high voltage output here and another filtering capacitor for the power. Got a few fusible resistors back here as well. Next thing we're going to want to do is remove the deflection yoke from the back of the CRT. Do that with just the screw here. See, parts of the yoke are disintegrating a little bit. It's just kind of what they do. Yeah, it's all kind of falling apart and crusty. Yeah, if you look at that, this here, it's all cracked and broken. It's also really dirty. It's a really dirty yoke. I think the next step here is we're going to take the set flip it on its side. There's 3 screws up here. They need to come out, and the bezel CRT part should come out. Yeah, it's the bezel. It just clips in on the top here. Interesting how it is molded in a bluish color, but they painted it this goldeny color. Now we can get to the screws holding the plastic screen cover on. It's a good idea to take this off and clean it because it gets really dirty behind it. There it is. It's pretty dirty still on the top. You can see it here. It's also tinted darker for maybe anti-glare, maybe something else. Now you're going to want to remove the 4 bolts holding the picture tube on. Bracing the picture tube in the back so it doesn't fall. It's a really dirty bulb. Now we're going to go through the very fun task of cleaning everything up inside the cabinet. So like all of this dirt and grime that's built up over the years. Just want to wipe that away. Like so. It's a good idea to go through and clean your TVs so they're not full of dust and dirt. Like all the dirt in this part of the TV that's built up. Just gonna wipe all of it away. Careful around the tube chart, don't want to damage that. Also want to be thorough when cleaning up stuff like this. So you want to remove things like the handles or extra trim. Make sure you get everywhere. For the handle here, there's just 2 screws up on the inside. And there it goes. Now I'm just going to wipe down the lens here a little bit on the top. Where dirt and stuff has built up over time. Now a pretty important thing to clean here is the picture tube, because crust like around the anode cap here can cause discharges and arcing and stuff like that. Just want to give it a nice wipe down. Don't want to wipe off this graphite coating too much. This picture tube needs it as a ground. Interestingly, this picture tube does not have an implosion band on it. Yeah, this thing is a mess. Nicotine glaze. Now I'm going to reinstall important parts like the picture tube mounting straps and the picture tube to put that back in. Now I'm going to reinstall the picture tube. Now we're going to reinstall the yoke. Now we're going to prop up the chassis in such a way where we can hook everything up and do a power test on it. Normally you'd want to put these sets, bring them up slowly, like on a dim bulb tester or on a Variac, but because this set has been worked on recently, I don't see the need to do that. So now we're going to put it under power, turn it on, see what it does. Oh, we got light on the screen. Guessing one of the paper capacitors in the vertical circuit. Bad. So we'll start taking a look at that. Here's the deflection board of the TV, where you've got your vertical and part of the horizontal deflection. Looking here, you can see that paper capacitor, that Bumblebee or Black Beauty, has a giant crack in it. You've also got that 0.01 at 1,000 volts there. That probably is bad. You've got another cap there, and another there, and an electrolytic there. Let's first start by checking that electrolytic. I've installed the new, well, not really new, but replacement capacitor. Now let's see what it does. Appears it didn't change a whole lot. So now I'm going to replace a few of the papers. I replaced all the paper caps on this board. So now I'm going to start measuring resistances on all of the resistors here. So what I ended up doing was I replaced pretty much most of the paper capacitors in there. Turns out there was this one here, which was bad. I didn't know that it's hard to tell if it was paper or not until I dropped it on the floor. And I broke the shell off of it, and you can see the insides there are paper. So they like to hide, and they come in various forms. I replaced pretty much all of the papers in the vertical circuit. I replaced a lot of the resistors. So now let's turn it on, see what it does. Really weird static. So that's supposed to be color bars. There it is. Maybe the tuner's just really dirty. Vertical hold is way off. Let's see if we can get that to lock. Yeah, there is no locking that vertical hold. But there is color bars. They are there. There's our linearity. You can tell it isn't. Yeah, and it's locking in the middle of the screen. See if adjusting the height or linearity controls will help. Well, I've fiddled with the capacitors a bunch, and I've touched up a few resistors, and now it has a stable picture in the center. As you can tell, the vertical linearity is off really bad, and I think the picture is a little unstable, mostly because of how I have the video attached. It isn't very well. So let's see if we can touch up. Like, it just really doesn't want to hold sometimes. These tubes back here are hot. Yeah, it just absolutely does not want to hold. It makes a picture. It's not that bad. So a resistor drifted, coupling the vertical hold potentiometer to the ground on the brightness one. I replaced it with the proper value. Now if you look at that, we've got a stable vertical hold. I really don't like hot chassis stuff like this. Something back there is hot and it's annoying. Something's loose. That's probably why they included this thing here to adjust some of the pots on the back. But it's split on both ends, so it's not very much help anymore. That's Now it's time to put the cabinet all back together. So as you can see now, it works pretty well. So that's it. That's a basic vertical repair on one of these metal 1950s, mid 1950s portable black and white TVs.